Going on, everyone? Welcome on into Coffee with Brodes. What's happening? We had history last night. Giannis was a stud, 50 points. Absolutely ridiculous. Awesome moment, no doubt about it. So that was definitely entertaining. The Phillies, though, losing to the Yankees, not entertaining. 6-4, sloppy defense. Aaron Nola stunk. What else was involved? The bullpen got shelled, although that wasn't the biggest issue. Not getting timely hits, sixth inning, seventh inning, eighth inning, multiple opportunity after multiple opportunity after multiple opportunity, and not able to get that run across the board that was needed. So that was basically what happened last night. And then tonight, the Phillies get a chance to split. The Flyers have the expansion draft, so we will have more information on what's going down then. And that's where we're at. So before we continue, everyone, enjoy your cup of mud this morning with me. I have a black Starbucks hazelnut cup of coffee right here that I'm really excited for. I'm going to take a sip right now, and then we will get into the chat. Oh, yes. What's up, Dylan? What's going on, Jack? Brandon, how are you? Thank you guys so much. Nolan, what's going on? Caleb says Bucks in 6. Yes, that is correct. Bucks in 6. 50 and 17 from the free throw line. Were swing a great in the making. What? Does that sentence make sense? Is that a full-on sentence that I'm reading properly, or what's going on there? Yeah, it was insane. It definitely was. A great moment, awesome moment. It doesn't change the fact of you get this all the time, right? Well, if you're stupid if you thought that this series sucked because there were big enough stars. And I think people were somewhat referencing me because of the blog post that I had. It was a nice series. It was still not emotional. It was still not like you care. You were passionate about who won the championship. It was a nice moment. It was a fun series. It wasn't anywhere close to a great NBA final. It's a nice NBA final. It was a fun NBA finals. It wasn't an elite NBA finals. It wasn't one of the greatest NBA finals. It was nice. It was a cute, fun series. That's the way I label it. That's the way I put it down. Yeah, it was nice to see Giannis have one of those very special moments. How mad watching Giannis knowing Ben Simmons would never do what he did. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. He never would be that aggressive. He would never be willing to go that downhill. He would never be willing to take a shot in the fourth quarter, let alone anything that Giannis did prior to the fourth quarter. So, yeah, it definitely is sickening. What's up, Tig? What's going on? Can they repeat? I mean, yeah, it's a little early for that conversation, in my opinion. But yeah, they do have Giannis. They have Chris Middleton. They have Drew Holiday. That's what helped them get there. Also, keep in mind, Dante DiVincenzo was not available, and that's definitely a key contributor to the team. If they play a different team, would you have a different outcome? Possibly. The Phoenix Suns definitely turned into them a shell, right? I mean, they really did. They turtled into their shell a little bit. Chris Paul, I'm definitely very disappointed in the outcome that he had late down in those last few basketball games. Devin Booker had big moments. He also had some softer moments, but that's going to happen when you're 24 years old and you're experiencing an NBA Finals. That's very difficult to handle the emotion side. Like, that's supposed to happen when you're 24 years old. There is a journey involved, and there's a learning curve. And we're watching Devin Booker as a young scorer in this league learn what it takes, and he's going to have to bottle up all those losses and bottle up all those moments that taught him something and make sure that he applies that into the offseason, sort of like Giannis did. Giannis lost and lost and lost and lost, and it's a journey losing. It takes time losing and then getting over that speed bump. Can they repeat? Yeah, I think they have their key pieces. You know what's funny, though? Everyone said Budenholzer blows, right? Now, that could be true. My point is, you're either extremely off on your assessment by a huge margin. I mean, you're insanely fucking off, or as I alluded to throughout the Brett Brown era, when everyone wanted to scream at Brett Brown and say he was the number one issue with this basketball team, I would tell you that the players need to step up. The players need to be ready. The players have to execute the moment. So if Budenholzer blows, which I would say 80% of the NBA world would say that he absolutely sucks before winning this championship, now he's an NBA champion. Is he an NBA champion because of how magnificent he is as a head coach? Or is it more of a product of Giannis having 50 points, Chris Middleton stepping up and knocking down big shots? Which one is it? If you replace that coach, can you win it with that roster? Absolutely. See, I'm someone that believes the NBA head coach has a role. It comes down to your players. Do your players score big moments? Coaches say it all the time. What do they say down the stretch? I gave it to my best player. I gave it to my best player and told them to go make a shot, go make something happen, make a play, be special. We hear that all the time. That doesn't mean coaches do nothing, but you win because Giannis drops 50. You win because Chris Middleton makes big shots. That's why you win. You win because of that. Put the ball in your best player's hands. Do they go score? Do they go make plays? Coaches have culture. Coaches at times out of bounds timeouts, rotations at time. They have a role. You win because of your superstars. I just find it ironic that now all of a sudden Budenholzer, what? He's a great coach. He's an elite coach. Which one is it? To all the people out there that were fighting me back and forth when I tried telling you, the Sixers weren't winning. And I'm not saying you should have kept Brett Brown. That's not my point. But when they were not winning, it was because Brett Brown stunk, not because Joel Embiid wasn't ready, not because Ben Simmons didn't shoot a basketball, not because Jimmy Butler had some issues with the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter because you were playing 4-on-5 offensively in the half court, which resulted in some poor possessions. No, not because of that, but because of the head coach. And as you see, you move on to a iconic head coach, and you have bitching and complaining about the head coach as well. Do you think Lowry will be a 76er this year? I don't. I don't think that they go after the Kyle Lowry route. I believe that Daryl Morey has his eyes on the prize, and that would be Damian Lillard. There's more reports out there that the 76ers are one of the most aggressive teams trying to get that acquisition. That's not surprising. That's not really new news. That's not really a breaking news type of report. So, it is what it is, but that's how the rest of the offseason is going to go. That's how the rest of the season is going to play out. You're going to hear Mark Stein or anybody else out there just throw Ben Simmons and the Sixers trade and Damian Lillard out there as much as possible because it's going to get clicks. It's going to get the headlines. It's going to be something that Philadelphia gravitates towards. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be Lowry. I believe it's probably going to be more Damian Lillard. Oh, so now Coach Bud's a top 10 coach, but before this championship, he needed to be fired unless he won a title. I mean, it can't be that extreme. You can't go from he's a top 10 coach to right after he's labeled as this man's getting canned because he stinks and he's holding this franchise back and they need a major change. I mean, let's not act like that wasn't the storyline by literally, I said 80% of basketball fans and basketball people. I probably should move that number up to 95. I mean, that's an extreme difference. It's just funny to me. I thought I saw something about Adam Larson. Okay, so the Flyers, thinking about the Flyers and what possibly can happen when it comes to adding more defense to their core. I did see, I saw his name pop up. I didn't get to read the full tweet. Adam Larson is going to sign with the, oh, okay, sign with the Kraken. So that takes one off the board. Although not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because you're going to see the Kraken take people and then trade people as well. So that doesn't rule everything out. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they stick with someone like Adam Larson. You will be seeing trades go down after they do pick someone. Who would have thought, a Flyers fan, you've been honing in on the Kraken expansion draft? Well, of course. What do you mean? Of course we would be. It's a big day. It's a big, huge day. It matters. Of course. I've always been a fan of Coach Bud. I'm surprised you're in that 5% then, because he has not been a favorite. He has not been discussed in a positive way. He's been absolutely abused by a lot of people. Brodes, I'm happy Giannis won a ring, but I'm so jealous right now because I imagine what if that was us. You saw the crowds of people in Milwaukee. Imagine how Philly would be. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. That was a thought through my mind as well, watching the reaction, watching the celebration, hearing the eruption, Giannis crying. It was a cool moment for sure. But at the same time, I don't go too far with it where it crushes me and it kills me inside where I can't see the moment for what the moment is. You're right. I do think at the original time, this would have been awesome if it was Philadelphia. Could you imagine if that was Broad Street? What if that was South Philly, right? I mean, all those emotions do start flashing through your brain for a bit of time. But then it's all right. You just watch it for what it is. You're watching Giannis. You're watching a special performance. You're seeing 50 points. You're watching him hit his free throws after he was not able to hit his free throws all season long. That's development. That's growth. You're not good in an area. You get better in an area. You stick your free throws. I'm going to knock down my free throws in a game, in a NBA Finals clinching game where I'm at home and the Larry O'Brien is in the building, right? I mean, that just shows how much he was willing to work on his craft and get better, while others, not so much. Yeah, I questioned. I'm not going to lie. There was a point where I questioned, and this was when the Bucks were down in the series, and even when the Bucks were playing the Brooklyn Nets. Can you win with a guy who cannot shoot a basketball? The Ben Simmons thing got to me so much, it brainwashed me into thinking that Giannis was never going to be able to do anything because he cannot shoot a basketball. He finished with 17 of 19 from the charity stripe, which is just absolutely outrageous. But yeah, I'll be honest with you. When they were playing the Nets, even when they were down with the Suns, I said, look, Chris Middleton's your closer. Chris Middleton. Can you do it with that? And to be fair, that's not outrageous before you see it go down. Chris Middleton is not the top of the top in this league. So to question, can closing with Chris Middleton really be that great? And can it be the difference? Well, the answer is yes. The answer is flat out yes. I wondered, though. He proved me wrong. But the answer is yes. Can you win with Giannis? You can't shoot a basketball. The answer seems to be yes. The difference is, though, Ben Simmons can't. Ben Simmons definitely can't. I need to see the Sixers win one. Got to see how Joel would react in the locker room. Yeah, I mean, he'd go crazy. Joel Embiid with the Larry O'Brien in his hands would be absolutely crazy. But just think about Giannis's journey and how many times they lost and how many times they came up short. You lose in the second round. You lose in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's painful. It's not ironic that I laid this whole entire scenario out for you just a couple years ago when everyone said Brett Brown had to go because they would be champions if Brett Brown was gone. No, that's not the problem. The problem is time. The problem is you have to grow. The problem is you have to learn how to win in this league on a big stage. You need to learn the big moments. Now with Ben, that's a totally different scenario. I'm talking about the normal NBA basketball player that knows how to play the game of basketball. Ben Simmons doesn't know how to play the game of basketball because he won't shoot a basketball, and that makes no sense to me. So that's a totally different scenario. That's the outlier that stands out like a sore thumb. I'm talking about the real basketball players, not so much the Ben Simmons side of things. Darius with a $5 donation. The mental fortitude of Giannis is unreal. Earlier in the playoffs, he was airballing free throws. The guy is Philly tough. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that really means he's Philly tough, but I do understand what your main point is here, that this guy doesn't give a damn, He'll airball a three. What will he do the next time down the floor? In transition, he'll literally pull up a three off the dribble. He'll miss an airball, or he'll free throw an airball, or he'll shoot a free throw. It'll be an airball, and he'll get fouled the next trip down the court and go back to the line because he doesn't care. He puts it behind him. It's the cornerback factor. when you're a corner and you get absolutely hosed by a wide receiver off the line of scrimmage, what do you do the next play? You put it behind you and you worry about the next play. Then you break up the next pass. You realize the other team is now targeting your side. You jump the route and you get a pick six. You jump the route, you swat the ball. Maybe it's a turnover on downs on a very aggressive offense on the other side of the field. So there's a lot of different ways that you can just block out the mistakes, block out the errors, and just focus on what's in front of you. That's what Giannis does extremely well, and you see that in so many different areas. It's special. It's definitely special. Giannis was hungry. The Sixers did not look hungry. You're right. You're right. The Sixers did not look hungry. No doubt. The Bucks did not endure injuries and hit their major stride when it counted. Congratulations to them. Bucks did not endure injuries and hit their major stride when it counted. I got you. Yeah, they play late. They played later in the series, just so much different, didn't they? When they were down 2-0, and I'm stunned. If you go back to that moment, down 2-0, it looked all Phoenix. And then you think about going to Milwaukee, just winning one of those games would set the Suns up 3-1 to go back to Phoenix with the chance to close out the series. You just thought that, look, you had a chance. Although, I did claim, and I was pretty vocal about it, everyone ruled it off completely. And I said, let's just see Milwaukee first. I thought the Suns would take one in the first two games of Milwaukee, but let's see. Home court advantage. And then this ties back to Miami Heat last year, the bubble, and the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler, getting to the NBA Finals. Now, I won't discredit LeBron because LeBron's won in so many different areas on the road. He's won down 3-1. He's done it before. But when Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat and Tyler Hero go on this ride, which was very unexpected, to the NBA Finals when they never had to play an away game, yeah, that factors into how I think about that championship. Not so much with LeBron because he does it a billion times. He's done it so many times. He has so many championships. So I'm not going to discredit someone who I know can do it because I've seen it on such a high level and him dominate. So it is different. But you see how that home court advantage does matter with the fans in there. And yeah, I mean, look, that was crazy how they flipped the page basically, and not even fully in those first couple of games at home, because if you remember, game 4 was a grind out ugly one where they were basically losing the entire time. And then with that backstretch fourth quarter, bang, 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 they end up coming back and winning. And it was a wild sequence there. So they just grinded it out. But sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it's all it takes. Giannis is a very humble dude. Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. But he's got that attitude to him. You got to have that attitude. You got to have that cockiness. You got to have that confidence, right? I mean, he's humble and he's got some swag to him. I thought it was funny when he's talking about the postgame. It's easy to join a super team. It's easy to go somewhere and win. This was my journey, and it's hard this way. And he's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's something you got to appreciate. The route that they took, him and Middleton, lose, 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 win. It's the journey. It's how the NBA works if you don't join a super team. Daniel says, I think if this has shown us anything, it's that if somehow Ben is here next season, we need a point guard. Well, that won't work. It won't work because you can't have him not play point guard and then stand next to Joel Embiid. And he can't space the floor. Ben Simmons not playing point guard is not going to be beneficial because of the spacing issues. What this series showed me is, wow, you need someone who can literally score at will like Chris Middleton. You don't have that. Even Embiid. I love Embiid. Just based off of being a center, though, you can't do that. You can't just work the way Chris Middleton worked to knock down every bucket and to have that killer shot every single time down the floor when you need to late. You need someone like that. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying those words. You need someone like Chris Middleton, but you need someone to do what Chris Middleton did at the end of those games. I love Joel. It's not easy for someone 7'2" to be doing that. He can knock down mid-range jumpers, sure. He can do it off the dribble, sure. But especially when you have Ben Simmons who can't shoot a basketball, it's so much easier for teams to just bring the double team and then bring a help defense and to suffocate him a bit, which forces him to struggle. Might be a bad pass, and then you're giving it to someone like Seth Curry or Danny Green. You need someone who has the ball in their hands the entire trip up the floor, gets the ball maybe, if it's not dribbling the ball up the floor the entire time, at the top of the perimeter, everyone spaces out, you play ISO ball, you go, give me a bucket. Call the play called give me a bucket. ISO, go score. Go score. That's what you need. You need a next level barrier. You don't have that unless it's Dame time. How about that? Michael Miller steps in perfectly. Dame time. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. See, I do think now, you know what I said? Nobody cares about this championship. Well, it's not that no one cares about this championship, but whoever won this, no one was passionate about. If Giannis didn't win, you weren't going to cry at night. If Devin Booker won, you weren't going to cry in excitement, right? It doesn't matter the way LeBron matters to the LeBron haters and the LeBron fans. This adds a loss to the resume. It's another title to have the Michael Jordan debate. If Kevin Durant wins a championship, he only joined a super team to win the title. Well, that could be true with the Brooklyn Nets as well. That debate still continues to happen. Steph Curry has transcended the game. He's changed the game. You win a championship. I mean, he moves the needle. Now what this does, though, is opens the door for the next couple of years. If Giannis and the Bucks lose in the second round next year, you lose in the third round, well, then this is irrelevant. But my point is, if this is now a team that's getting to the finals every year, now that they won, those emotions might start pouring out. Second year, can they go back to back? Well, now we look at last season and there's storylines to it. Now, if they go to 3 straight NBA finals, the emotions that I just mentioned that you care about KD and LeBron and Steph Curry, you will naturally start having those emotions for Giannis and the Bucks because they would be there for 3 straight years, because they would be there for 2 straight years. So this now opens the door for the Bucks and Giannis to be a heavier storyline as the NBA Finals continues year after year. So I'm acknowledging that this one was a nice little cute series for me, but this does possibly, I don't know if it will, Giannis and the Bucks need to continue this style of play, but it opens the door for the possibility, though, of now caring about Giannis the way that we care about some of these other guys because he won one. That's what it basically takes. It takes winning them and then having us get emotionally tied to you on the NBA final stage for it to become a more intense emotional reaction. Nick says, this just makes me want Dame even more. Just imagine Embiid and Dame winning the championship. Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing, but there's a lot more to it. What if the Sixers player, Ben Simmons, how the Bucks play Giannis? I think you mean, what if the Sixers play Ben Simmons, how the Bucks play Giannis? You can't. He doesn't play that way. Giannis and Ben Simmons don't play the same way. Giannis has attitude. Giannis has the killer. Giannis wants it. Ben Simmons doesn't want it. Ben Simmons won't shoot. And I even look, there's and this is the hard middle ground. You want Giannis to grow in so many areas. You want Giannis to get better. How do you get better? You take shots. You knock down threes. You have to be willing to take those shots in the games. That's also what the defense wants, though. If Giannis is going to settle for threes, and we saw that one point during this playoffs where he went 0 for 8 from 3, and he's still popping threes. He's still taking threes, but he made the 3, so he finished 1 for 9 from 3. And it's like, yeah, that's great. You're getting better and you're working on your craft. At the same time, the other team is winning because you're doing that. So you got to find that perfect balance. You got to, you got to pick your right moments. You got to pick and choose how many times you're going to do it in a game. You can't just nonchalantly keep continuing to let it fly over and over again because you're, quote, working on your craft. You got to do it the right way. And also, it's just fascinating to see the experience and the way that he's gone through this, the Giannis experience and the way that he has really blossomed and groomed, like it's just interesting. It's very weird. Yeah, I do think sports-wise, if you're looking at the sports side of things, Ben Simmons and his mental toughness on the court is nowhere even close to the same way as Giannis in the way that he operates. So I mentioned when Giannis struggles, he doesn't care. He puts it behind him and he looks forward and attacks. When Ben Simmons fails, he shells up. He's afraid. He won't do it again. He doesn't want to look like an idiot on social media. There's a lot that happens that then changes the outcome because he is unwilling to then try again, and he doesn't want to put his head down and go back to the free throw line because he's already 2 of 11 on the night. If he even gets 11 free throw attempts after he misses the first 6, it's like he turns into his shell. Can't happen. Would I give up all the first round? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 first round picks for Damian Lillard? I don't know. I think then you're starting to get into aggressive territory. 8 first round picks for Damian Lillard. I mean, obviously Ben Simmons is in the deal. It has to work financially. And I know the Brooklyn Nets did something very similar for James Harden. They did a lot of first round picks. They did a lot of pick swaps. Would I do 8? Well, you got to think. Hold on. Let's look at this a little bit more. The 22, 24, 26, 28, are they going to actually want – what does that mean for them? Because if you have Dame and Joel, you're going to be drafting super low in the first round. So basically a couple of those first-round pick swaps to the Portland Trailblazers are not going to be much, right? Because if you're going to be drafting in the 20s, 22, 24, 26, in that range in the draft pick area, they're not going to pick swap with you because they're going to be higher up in the draft. But they're not stupid. They're going to recognize that as well. So they probably write those first couple off from the jump. So if that's the case, it's really 4 first-round draft picks and maybe 2 pick swaps because who knows where you're going to be at 26 and 28 years. That makes me change things. So, yeah, possibly. Possibly. Because those first couple, they're not going to pick swap. You're going to be way lower. You're going to be in that 25, 24, 23 range of the draft picks, and they're probably going to be higher than that. So I think I would lean more towards it. This is just my gut instant reaction. If I have more time to digest it, maybe I think about it a little more and have a different response. But, that's the way I'm kind of analyzing it right now off the top of my head. Okay, so I've always hated how people compare Ben to Giannis. Giannis has the dog in him. The will to win. Great passion for basketball and an obsession with getting better. Yeah, but I mean, you're now I think when people described Ben Simmons and Giannis, they were talking about the style of play, not so much the way that they're mentally handling the game of basketball. It's more of they both can't shoot very well. They both are super well. Ben does have aggressive moments. He has not in the playoffs, but you understand my point here with the explanation of why people compared the two. They lower their shoulder. They go to the rim. They get to the free throw line because of their aggressiveness. Their body structure is so damn big. They're not great shooters, but they can still work due to their body structure, and they can kick out and find open teammates facilitating the rock because of their physical aggressiveness. So, while breaking it down that way and what they can do with their skill set and their body size, yeah, I mean, it does make sense to kind of relate them, but Giannis has taken it to a way bigger level, of course. Yeah, I think you guys are thinking about this like too literally with the entire makeup and build from the brain down, if you will. I think the comparison was clearly they both can't shoot, they both attack the rim, and they both use their physical ability to get downhill. I think that's why people compare them. Just the style of possibility. Yes, Giannis is on a different planet compared to Ben. I would agree with that. Could the Flyers make the Tarasenko trade tonight? Well, if the Seattle Kraken do pick up Tarasenko and that's their move from St. Louis, yeah, I'd imagine it can all go down tonight. I'd imagine moves would be made tonight and things will go down. So you have to keep yourself aware. You have to keep your eyes on the prize here tonight on the expansion draft. Lawrence is pissed at the Sixers front office. Nah, I'm not going this far. I know where this is going. Until now, we had a lot of these guys. If it would, yeah, I mean, it's not the same though. Drew Holiday winning a championship in 2021 because of Chris Middleton and Now, look, Giannis had moments. Drew had moments, but Drew failed miserably as well. I mean, Drew was not a perfect player in this series, and he had a lot of ups and a lot of downs as well. Drew Holiday being a part of the Sixers 8 years ago, he was your number one option. You had Drew Holiday as your guy. He's your third guy on the Bucks. That's a huge difference. That is a major, 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 major difference. And he has been in so many different cities to this point. You can't say, well, if you had him next to Joel Embiid right now, I mean, come on. We're talking about you 8 years ago. 8 years ago, you wouldn't even have Joel Embiid. The process wouldn't have even started. You wouldn't even be in the position you are now. You can't magically just pluck Drew Holiday, put him back on this team where he got traded that started this whole entire thing. So, I don't like that narrative. People are going through, well, Drew, this and that, and the Sixers are dumb. They traded Drew. Look, he's a champion. As a third, I mean, look, with all due respect to Drew, and he was needed. He's more than just a role player, but he wasn't a star either. And I know what he does defensively. I watched him. Okay, I watched him. He was an important piece to the championship. But, I mean, come on. He's in between where I saw him in between important role player and star. And that was his role in this playoff series. Let's not blow this out of proportion. Let's not blow this out of proportion. Players say that Drew is the best defender in the league. Well, he's a good defender, yeah. But let's not, I think we're going too far. It's the Mikal Bridges thing. Mikal Bridges, oh my God, the Sixers gave up Kevin Durant. He had 24 points in one NBA Finals game. I like Mikal Bridges. He's going to be fine in this league. He's going to be a very solid player in this league. You would have thought the 76ers gave up Kevin Durant the way that he played after that one game. Let's just go through his game log here after that 24-point performance. So he had 24 points, or 27, excuse me. 4 points, not making one. Oh, there's a rebound. Sorry. 4 points, 7 points, 13 points, 7 points. So there's your Mikal Bridges after one awesome night. I mean, it's crazy the outrage, the cry after one thing happens. You're right, nothing is wrong with roles. You're right. But you can fill roles easier than other roles. You could find Drew Holiday's role easier than you could find Joel Embiid's role. Guess what trading Drew Holiday started for you? It started the process. It started getting you Joel Embiid. It's harder to get Joel Embiid than it is to find a Drew Holiday. Yeah, they did. They had a better supporting cast, no doubt about it. Oh, no doubt about it. They had a better supporting cast. Would I take Carey Price if I was the GM of Seattle? I'll be honest, I'm not as deeply involved in what that would limit you into doing. Like obviously from the surface, you get Carey Price, no doubt. I haven't dove into the pros and the cons of that. And okay, getting Carey Price, what does that mean you can't do? What does that limit you from doing? So I'd have to weigh out the pros and cons and dive a little bit deeper into the context to kind of give you like the full on real assessment. But I mean, looking at it just from a surface level, if you can land Carey Price, you realize how important a goalie is to winning a championship. And can they pull something off like Vegas where they're right from the jump a competitive team? It is something that you have to really consider and you have to really look at. But like I said, I don't have enough information to really know what that limits you around the expansion draft for me to go all in and say, yeah, it's a no doubter. Because I don't know if it's a no doubter. It's a very heavy cap hit. He's not a role. Well, I mean, there's plenty of players that are technically a role who starts. Not every starter on every team is like the guy. Like you can be a starter and have a role, right? I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bench player, but they're starter. Like Brooke Lopez. I mean, he has a role as a starter. Drew Holiday had a role as a starter. Now, so did Chris Middleton and Giannis, but their roles are being elite, which is different and change the narrative behind it. But you can be a starter and still be a player that is more in a role than they are like, hey, this guy is something totally different. Oh, yeah, people were saying Bridges is significantly better than Tobias Harris when Tobias Harris averages 20 points per game. Averages. Now, sometimes it's not the most efficient in the world, and I'm very understanding of that, and it's not the smoothest all the time. But yes, there's a difference. There's a difference. And I like Mikal Bridges. That's no knock. That's no knock. It can be Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Mikal Bridges. Who wants that? Why? I don't want Ben Simmons. And Mikal Bridges would not be the same here as he is in Phoenix. Playing with Chris Paul, playing with Devin Booker, that is a totally different scenario and a different offense than playing with a big man like Joel Embiid and having Ben Simmons and Joel and being a different option. You would not see the same Mikal Bridges. You wouldn't see the same time. You wouldn't see the same amount of minutes, especially earlier when Mikal Bridges was, he would have been here when there were some other guys still on this team before trades were made. Be a bench piece compared to being a starter with the Phoenix Suns. There's a lot in the Mikal Bridges experiment that would have happened here in Philly that does not truly really lay out the same way as what he's experiencing in Phoenix. I think Mikal Bridges' trade would have been better if Zhaire Smith developed into something. Well, yeah, that's why I always go back to the thought process of the trade was fine. There were options there. You could have got Kevin Huerter, and who else was available with that 16th pick, or that was what, the 2018 NBA draft, I believe. Was that 2018? There was another. Oh, Dante DiVincenzo. That's what it was. Dante DiVincenzo went 1 after Zhaire Smith, and Kevin Huerter went 3 after Zhaire Smith. If you pick up that first round pick and you get Dante DiVincenzo, I mean, I think that's even more painful, right? You lose Dante DiVincenzo, you lose Kevin Huerter. That's what you could have acquired. You're not even talking about Mikal Bridges. Or if you stayed at 10 and got SGA, who went to Oklahoma City Thunder, or he actually went to Charlotte at that time. He's in OKC now. And who else was there? Michael Porter Jr., the kid's a stud. Now I understand being afraid of him because of the back injuries at the time, and you had Ben Simmons issues, you had Joel Embiid issues, you had Markelle Fultz issues, and now you're going to draft Mikal Bridges, and now you're going to draft Michael Porter Jr., who has a back injury as well. It's a really bad look, and it's a really tough sell. But if you know how amazing he could be, and if you know his ceiling and how special he is when he is available, maybe that was a risk you should have been more willing to take, because it's clear that Michael Porter Jr. is a player. Is a player. Yeah, no doubt. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You're right. No doubt about it. I'm just saying that doesn't make the thought process of the trade bad, because there was plenty of talent at that spot that they could have landed. And that first round pick that you got, the unprotected first round pick by the Miami Heat, was insanely important. And getting that and Herder, getting that and Dante DiVincenzo, you don't look at that Mikal Bridges the same way. The options to draft a special player in that slot at 16 was absolutely available. Therefore, it wasn't a miserable idea to do it. They just botched the actual execution of it. Unreal how bad Chris Paul is when Scott Foster's in. Yeah, I saw the whole Scott Foster debacle. I mean, look, it is what it is. I got nothing for you. I see all these videos of just people dancing, and it says Scott Foster in the Bucks locker room after the game, and it's a bunch of people cheering, and it's actually the UNC locker room. Scott Foster watching CP3 walk through the tunnel. CP3 and Scott Foster working together to get this series to 7. That's funny. Damn, CP3 has never won a playoff game that Scott Foster officiated. That's wild to me. I mean, Chris Paul also sucked. Chris Paul also sucked, right? I mean, let's be realistic. Chris Paul was not good for the back end of this series. Very questionable decisions, lots of sloppy turnovers. Wasn't himself. I mean, maybe sucked is a little aggressive, but there were moments where he did. There were a lot of moments where he did, and you can't have that. We praised the Phoenix Suns getting to where they were because of the veteran leadership, because of the pride that Chris Paul took in slowing down the pace and setting up plays and being that floor general. And it's just not the same. 0-13 with Scott Foster as a ref. I don't think that there's a correlation, though. I don't think that Scott Foster's like, I'm not having Chris Paul win. Did you watch that game and really say that Scott Foster held Chris Paul back? Because I looked at it as Chris Paul at times held Chris Paul back, and Chris Middleton was making shots, and Giannis had 50 points. I look at it more from that angle. And the beginning of the game, holy hell, talk about a disaster, right? I mean, it looked like summer league game. Turnover after turnover after turnover, sloppy basketball, sloppy basketball. You know, it was garbage in the beginning, but they finally eventually settled in a little bit. Booker shot 0 from 7 from 3 last night. He wasn't playing his best either. Yeah, that's why they lost. Not Scott Foster, not the referee. They lose because of what you just mentioned. Their players were not executing very well, and the moment looked too big. And I realize that it's going to look big for a 24-year-old Devin Booker, who is one of the great young scorers in the league. That makes sense. That's normal. That's natural. How does Devin Booker now become a better player from this, experience this emotional loss, and then now keep applying it to his game like Giannis did over the last couple of years, right? Lose, 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 learn from the loss. So it makes sense that Devin Booker has that type of night in a closeout game. It's more about how you handle that. It's more about what's the next step. It's more about taking the next stride in your journey and applying this all to your craft. That's what it's all about. Why is the Dame trade looking unlikely? What makes you feel that way? Nothing tells me that it looks any more unlikely than what it was a little bit ago. Oh, Adam Larson did sign the contract. Okay, I didn't realize that that fully went down. I thought it was just like he was hearing that Adam Larson was going to sign, but I want to know why the Dame trade is looking unlikely from J Jed. That's something that I'm looking forward to seeing his response. What? We can't be doing this. What do you mean? Where does we can't be having Giannis in all-time conversations right now? The guy won one championship and he's how old? 26 years old? I mean, we can't be doing this. He's 26. He's got 10 more years to play. It's nowhere even close to being able to rank him. We can't be ranking Giannis all time. Someone else says that. Did Giannis surpass Dirk? Oh, it's the same person. What? It's one title. It's literally one championship right now, and he's got so much more time to play. He's nowhere even close to my all-time list right now. All time? All time? How can you put someone in all time at 26 years old? Oh, come on. We got to wait. Carmen says, sorry, just checked in late. Giannis's determination was some special stuff. Free throw freak. Yeah, for sure. I think you nailed it saying determination. I don't know if that's a word that I said yet when discussing Giannis, but he was so locked in. He was so ready to go. He was so explosive, and you could see that he had his eyes on the prize. You could sense that there was a lot of urgency there, and he was not allowing that Larry O'Brien to leave that arena to go back to Phoenix. It was all determination. He was going to finish the job off, and you know, you see all the Kobe stuff afterwards and the MVP and him and Kobe going back and forth. You know, that definitely hit my heart a little bit. But that was, that was incredible what Giannis did. And it was super fun to watch and to see the reaction. These comments are always wilding, Evan. That's what this chat's for, to be wilding. J. Jed responded, guess it's just a feeling. Just use the worst case scenario with this team. Yeah, I mean, that's preposterous. You're basically just saying it for no reason. There's no reason at all to feel that now it's more unlikely compared to yesterday when it's not. You know what I mean? It's like that's just being negative and not thinking with your head. He's not over 13 for no reason. There is something there. Not saying it's rigged at all, but Donahue said that refs are harder on other players. Chris Paul is a very liked man isn't a very liked man to begin with. I think it's more ironic than anything else. Chris Paul can score the basketball. Chris Paul can find his open teammates, and his teammates are not hitting their shots. That's why they lose games more. That's not like the biggest sample size in the world. 0 for 50. Maybe I'd feel a little bit different. 13 basketball games. You know, look, it's not 5. I get that. It's not 50 either. They're out there on the floor. Score. Hit more buckets. Be better. The team wasn't good. I look at this and say the Suns weren't good enough. The Suns were not good enough. It had nothing to do with Scott Foster calling the game. The Suns were not good enough. No, I definitely sense the sarcasm. I definitely sense the sarcasm for sure. It could be in his head. What? The fact that Scott Foster is reffing the game, that's in his head. Well, that's shame on him. You gotta think differently. You gotta over You got to get over that in your own head. That can't stop you. That's going to be the difference in winning an NBA Finals game, game 6 on the road for a chance to bring it back to Phoenix, where you would be at home to win a championship. You're going to worry about the referee, and that's going to change your whole entire mindset. Shame on you. One championship doesn't make him ranked. It's just too early in his career to start putting him on the best ever list, like the greatest of all time list. I can't start getting into that. Like, there's so much left in his career. We can talk about that after it's all said and done. We can talk about that after his career is over and you see what happens. Like right now, today, at 26 years old, you know, it's a nice moment. But as we tend to do a lot in sports, I feel like that's just jumping the gun. That's going too far ahead. That's being too aggressive with this. It's not time for that yet. It's not time for that yet. CP3 could have signed with the Sixers and he chose the Suns because he didn't want anything to do with money. Karma did its work because I'm salty. What do you mean? He didn't want anything to do with money? What does that mean? He's getting paid the big bucks. So he definitely wanted money. I'm a little confused on that one. Open ice hits? Yes, open ice hits. Open ice hits after the expansion draft. I think we're recording Thursday night, so. Oh, Daryl. Okay, that makes more sense. Let me reread that. But he wanted nothing. He didn't want anything to do with. Oh, sorry. It says Maury. I thought it said money. Was that true? I don't remember Chris Paul and I think Doc Rivers. Him and Doc Rivers definitely had a bit of a relationship thing as well. I don't remember it being Daryl Morey, but I do know that him and Doc Rivers, sometimes were going head to head a little bit. So I do think that was also on the table. But yeah, I mean that I have no hard feelings on CP3 for going to Phoenix. Look at what he did. Did he make the wrong decision by going to Game 6 of the NBA Finals and having one of the craziest runs as their franchise? Absolutely not. It doesn't automatically make this a failure. It's funny. This reminds me of something last night that I was watching. I was watching something on TikTok, and it was a kid who was describing the worst 7 fan bases right now that are in pain because of losses or whatever. And it was like the going through the list of like Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings, and it wasn't the just football. It was the entire city as a fan base. It wasn't only football, but he was bringing up his points. And one of the things he said was the Bills, and he said the Bills and Buffalo fans because they lost so many Super Bowls. And I'm thinking, well, yes, I understand. Like if you're, he said like the worst fan bases to be a part of. The Bills getting to Super Bowls and losing, like you're just taking away the journey and the ride that you go on and experience. There's teams that never get to Super Bowls. You can't say that getting to 4 Super Bowls, that means that it's a horrible fan base to be a part of and so terrible. You're getting to Super Bowls. That's what I'm saying with Chris Paul. Like, sure, he might have lost. He got to Game 6 of the NBA Finals. So, like, okay, they lost. Karma, no karma. They lost. I got it. They didn't win the Larry O'Brien. But you got to the NBA Finals. That doesn't make it a bad decision that he selected the Phoenix Suns. And I'm not claiming that you're saying that. But I'm just bringing this up because it makes no sense. Getting somewhere and failing at the highest point does not make it a spot where you should be a miserable fan. And it's like, well, that's a miserable fan base I don't want to be a part of. That goes on my all-time list of fans I don't want to be a part of. You don't want to be a part of a team that keeps consistently getting to the Super Bowl. Even though they're losing, they're getting there. You don't want to be a part of that. You put that on the same page of the Cleveland Browns with trash bags over their head. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's how I guess sports fans feel these days. I guess that's how sports fans feels. You literally saw the same TikTok? Yeah, it's probably on your For You page. I'm like, well, what's going on here? Yeah, Detroit was number one. Detroit was number one, which, makes sense. Makes sense. You're right. We did see the same one, but it's crazy to me. I hate those fans. Yankees, Patriots, who else? Maybe the Lakers. Probably a big fan of Duke basketball as well, right? They like Duke, the Yankees, the Lakers. I mean, I just never understood that. In what world is it fun to root for all these teams that are spaced out? Part of sports fandom to me is the culture of your surroundings, society. I take pride in being a Philadelphia sports fan in a Philadelphia sports area, living in this spot, living in South Jersey, being a part of the Philadelphia area community. That's a part of sports that matters to me. That's a big part of it. You take that away, like the Lakers win the championship. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Sit in your basement? Get the hell out of here. It's part of the experience. Ridiculous. No, 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 no. Those fans don't realize how well they have it. No, 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 no. See, no. They don't get credit for that. No way. I don't give them any credit. And so it's not like they have it great. No, I don't respect them. I don't give them any respect, so they don't get anything from me. I can't say they don't realize how well they have it. No. They don't have it well at all. They're frauds. They're losers. They're embarrassing. They're what's wrong in the sports community world. They don't have it great at all. They're frauds. They don't count as sports fans, in my opinion. They don't count. So I go back and this is like a standard question, right? This is the thing. What's best for a franchise is the consistency. I want a team that's consistent every year. Whether you win or lose, if you're in the mix of the conversation, that matters because then that season is important to you compared to when you're just going to blow and then the season's irrelevant and you can't even tune in and there's no real emotional tie to it. That sucks. With that said, though, it's so damn hard to win. It's so fucking hard to win a championship. I can't turn one down. You see how hard it is. You're watching how hard it is. The Eagles won one and had to blow everything up. The Philadelphia 76ers can't get over the hump right now. The Flyers haven't won one since the 70s. The Phillies stink. They have these mini, tiny spurts once in a blue moon. 93, 08, 09, that run. But they are a losing franchise. It's so hard to win. I can't pass up a championship. If you're guaranteeing me a championship, I cannot pass it up because you see how difficult it is to win. I can't do it. But, I understand consistency, not knowing you're going to win and putting yourself in a position every single year. That's very important to me. I value that insanely. But I also value how much goes into winning a title and how hard it is to bring home that championship. I can't pass it up. I cannot pass it up. Cannot. All right. No, it's not. It's actually probably the easiest to a degree. I say that because it's easiest once you get to the mountaintop, I guess I should say. The thing is, it's devalued. One championship means nothing. You need 3 for it to mean something, right? So if that's the case, it kind of changes things. It's easiest once you get there. The Super Bowl is hard. The Stanley Cup is hard. I'm biased towards hockey, and I'm fully aware of that. I'll say the Stanley Cup is probably the hardest to win, but I understand I'm a hockey mind, so that's going to piss some people off. The Super Bowl is extremely hard to win. They're in the same tier. The World Series, same tier. I don't know. They're all hard. I mean, they're obviously all hard. They're all hard. Once you get to the mountaintop with the NBA championship, though, it gets easier. It's easier to win that. See, the reason why the Stanley Cup is so hard is because of like the Montreal Canadiens can make a run. The LA Kings can make a run. Your eighth seed can win the Stanley Cup. We've seen that before. That's not uncommon. It can happen. While in basketball, you pretty much have 6 teams in play right from the beginning. Every year, you can point out the 6 teams, or even maybe even less, the 5 or 4 teams that have the highest chance of winning right from the start of the season. Well, I mean, you can't do that without. Well, sure, the Tampa Bay Lightning ended up winning, and they were the favorite to begin with, but they also had salary cap situations where they had a stacked roster because of it. But it ended up being the best team this year, but that's not how it normally works in the NHL, and there's a lot of parity involved. Where in basketball, you could point out the top 3 teams every season, and there's a reason why you go. Remember when the Cavs and the Golden State Warriors were going back and forth, back and forth? You could literally bet Cavs versus Warriors in the NBA Finals or anybody else in the NBA Finals as a bet. Now, you're telling me that that's okay. You're telling me that that's how it should be, right? I mean, think about that. You could literally bet the team being the 2 teams we've already seen or the rest of the entire league. And the one that won the bet was Cavs versus Warriors. So, come on. It's not basketball, with all due respect. It doesn't mean it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy, just compared to other sports. I'd think about giving my left nut for a Miami Dolphins bowl in my time. Love my Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers, but I'm a diehard Dolphins fan, and we had some rough years, good God. I always find that fascinating, too. I don't understand, me personally, how you can love 3 teams in Philly, and then the number 1 team in this city, you go to the Miami Dolphins instead of the Eagles. And maybe it's my dad was a Dolphins fan, or I grew up and I had a picture of Dan Marino on my wall or whatever, but I just don't understand that. It's like I love every team in this city, but the biggest team that everybody's so damn in love with, what runs this city and is the fuel to the fire here, I like the Dolphins. Yeah, see, ask my father. It's always a classic. Always a classic. My dad was a fan. It's like, At what point do you realize I like the Eagles? I'm making that transition. I don't know. You don't. Yeah, I agree because of the physicality of hockey. Don't agree personally, mostly since it's one and done. Oh, you're talking about football. So you don't think that football is the easy is hardest because it's one and done. Yeah, that doesn't devalue the NFL playoffs though. The NFL playoffs at that point, your body's fucked up. You're getting banged up every single. What these guys play through are just ridiculous. And I don't devalue even though it's a handful of games compared to needing to win 16 games in the NHL playoffs. That doesn't devalue that championship of the Super Bowl. It's an incredible and crazy run it is to do that. So I can't devalue that at all just because it's one game. From a whole organization standpoint, basketball is the hardest. You can be a great organization, but some places just can't attract superstars. That's any sport, though. That's any sport. In hockey, bringing people to Tampa Bay without the taxes and things of that nature compared to other cities. I mean, that's any sport, though. Attracting a star in a big market compared to a small market, that's literally any sport. So that applies anywhere. That applies anywhere. So with that all said, I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me today. Always fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're all the best. The NBA Finals is over. Now we have Phillies baseball and we have Flyers hockey tonight. We have Phillies baseball and Flyers hockey tonight. No Phillies talk today, huh? It was strictly business, strictly NBA Finals for the most part. A couple hockey questions in there, but basically all the NBA Finals, which is cool. It's fine with me. I'm just saying a little surprised by that because the Phillies had some sloppiness yesterday that eats me alive. So with that all said, thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I'll see you.